Greg Klote from Halvorsen Klote Davis. Your case is going to mediation. Maybe the judge ordered it, maybe the parties agreed upon it, but you're sitting there wondering what happens that day at mediation. Nobody typically explains this until mediation comes. So let me walk you through hour by hour and explain what happens at mediation. First, what mediation is and isn't. Mediation is not a trial. There's no judge, there's no jury, there's no ruling. Nobody wins and loses. Mediation is a glorified negotiation of a settlement, potentially. A mediator is typically someone who's a retired judge or former lawyer, or sometimes even a current acting lawyer with experience in this field and trained in negotiations and mediation tactics. The mediator's job is not to decide who's right and who's wrong. It's to close the gap between what the plaintiff wants and what the defense is willing to pay. Their job is to negotiate a settlement. Sometimes the parties aren't happy with that settlement, both of them, but the mediator is just trying to negotiate to a settlement that both parties will agree to. Roughly 80% of cases that go to mediation settle that day, but some don't. But while you're sitting there in a mediation, you should know how it works and the impacts that it may have on your personal life, your case, and your finances. Who's there that day? It's going to be you, your lawyer, sometimes a family member or a friend in the room. You'll be in a conference room that day. You'll be sitting there for a period of time throughout the day. Who's in the other room? The defense attorney, the defendant, and typically an insurance adjuster. An insurance adjuster typically is the one that's going to have the authority or the ability to get the case settled and the offered the amounts of money that it's going to take to get settled. Typically, a lot of mediations start in the morning. The mediator will come in, explain the rules, explain how the day is going to go, explain that it's going to be confidential and nothing will leave the room unless they want it to, and then they'll go to each party and explain those things to all of them. Then the mediator is going to talk to you about your case. You're going to talk to your lawyer and yourself. You're going to talk about the facts of the case, your injuries, how it's affected your life, the negotiation history, all those aspects, so the mediator has a full view of what's been going on with your case. The mediator then will go to the other parties and do the same thing. So that way the mediator has all the information he or she needs to get the case resolved. Once that's done, the mediator starts to go back and forth between the rooms. This is the beginning of a long process, one that I recommend my clients bring a book, computer, game, something to keep them occupied, because this is the beginning of a long day. How the settlement offers typically flow. So typically, the plaintiff is going to make a demand for an amount of money. The mediator takes that to the other side and they're going to make an offer. The mediator is shuffling back and forth between the rooms, okay? Talking to all the individuals in that room. And then once an offer is made, they're relaying that offer to the other parties. Those offers are then now counteroffers and going back and forth. This is what the mediator's job is throughout the day. Present these offers to each party, talk about the offers, discuss everything involved, and then if there's a new offer, bring it to the other side in hopes of resolving the matter. Sometimes mediation stalls or offers are still far apart, and mediators suggest bracket or, hey, would you settle within this range? And they go to the other party and say, would you settle in this range? Sometimes the parties have different ranges. It's a way to help facilitate and move the needle in the negotiations. Most mediations, we order lunch. We have lunch there in the room. People get frustrated, that it's not done yet, but I'm telling you, it's just beginning by that point. So if you are in a mediation, be prepared to sit there for a long time. I've had mediations that have started at 9 a.m. and got done at 5 p.m. I've had mediations that started at 10 and were done by 12. You never know how your day is going to go, but typically be prepared to be there for a while. What happens if you don't settle? Sometimes that happens. Actually, quite frequently that happens. Sometimes you have to walk out of the mediation and know that the offer just wasn't there. It could be that, they don't like your offer. It could be they're not offering enough money. Either way, walking away from a mediation after giving it a try is not a bad thing. Sometimes the parties then are able to come back weeks later and come to a resolution because they know where the parties stand. So walking out of a mediation is not a bad thing, okay? Hearing the offers first and working in good faith is what is needed, but ultimately, if it can't get resolved, you are not required to take any offer, or this is not mandatory or binding by any means. What happens if you settle that day? Well, if you settle that day, typically the parties are going to write up a settlement agreement, kind of a broader terms, make sure everyone's on the same page. Typically the mediator and the parties will go back and forth between the attorneys and get something in writing so everyone that is there knows what the agreement was, the terms, and doesn't leave there without having copies of that. If you do settle, cases still take a while to get paid sometimes. Typically, you're going to have to sign a more complex release that has a lot more terms than what you would have agreed to on the general terms at the mediation. Sometimes you have liens like Medicare, Medicaid, subrogation from your health insurance. Sometimes there's bills that need to be paid back. Whatever it may be, it still could take a little bit after the mediation to get paid. Remember, mediations can be great. You can get your case settled that day, but it's a long process and you typically want an attorney with you to advocate on your behalf. Remember, accidents happen, we can help. Halvorsen Klote Davis.